I'm here with retired Colonel Peter Kilburn, and we're in Seattle, Washington, and Colonel Kilburn has decided to let us auction his collection of bayonets and associated items. And you've got 3 major groups to your collection. Why don't you just explain that to us and then kind of show us the collection? And if I need to come around and see the other side, the camera's portable. So go ahead.
Well, I've been collecting for over 65 years. I always liked swords but could never afford them, and they were too dangerous. But I went to a surplus store with my dad, and they had a barrel of bayonets, so I got to pick a bayonet, and kind of fell in love with them after that. I put it up on the wall. I didn't play with it. I didn't threaten kids. And eventually I sold that one after I started collecting it. But it was sort of, well, what are you looking for? Well, it's what I don't have. And bayonets are still the cheapest form of weapons collecting. They're getting more pricey now with age. Bayonets are kind of interesting. They're collectible because they'll be to a certain country, a certain era, a certain rifle, and those change. And so there are books that have all of this information in it. So it's, if you want to call it easier to collect, you know what you're looking for. My problem when I first started out, there was no bayonet books. And I'd go to the gun shows and I'd see these tables with a mound of bayonets. Well, kid, what are you looking for? Well, I don't know, it's just what I don't have. And then I'll find little variations. Then I got a bayonet book, a small one, and I saw what I didn't have and locked in what I did have. And so I had something to seek. And of course, any kind of collector, the more you get, the more you want. I collected world bayonets. Well, I ran out of space. And so I, pardon the pun, cut it down to US, United Kingdom, which includes Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Germany. And those are the most collectible. So I have them catalog or set up here. This first rack is Part 1 United States. And they're in chronological order from Revolutionary War on down to World War II. The early Revolutionary War ones, of course, weren't necessarily US-made bayonets because they didn't have the methods yet. So a lot of them are imported from Britain, Germany, Holland, various other places. Then they became US bayonets. I have Civil War bayonets in this area, Confederate and US on down. This is first section. And this is US bayonets Part 2 and the beginning of the British bayonets. These are US bayonets, butter openers, down into here. And we start with the British from 1600s on up to modern. US is 1700s on up to modern. And of the modern, I've probably got 35 or 40 different varieties of the present M9 bayonet. That's on the other side if you want to see that.
Okay, so let me unplug here for a minute. We'll go around and see those.
Give you a little more light. But these are all different manufactured varieties different manufacturers or different models of the present M9 bayonet.
Okay, now this one here, we're not going to sell. He's keeping this one. This one's a special Desert Storm bayonet that has his name on it. So that one should be kept by him. These other ones, though, you even have a Coast Guard one, which was pretty interesting, the orange one. I guess these are for Arctic warfare or something, the white ones.
Yep.
Like Mountain Division would probably use those.
Experimental type 2, different manufacturer. Same type, different scabbard and style. This is a training bayonet.
I always wondered how they would do that so someone didn't get cut when they were... Alright. You know, in the movies they're always using a real bayonet, and I thought, I don't think so.
Well,
They do a lot with that? I'm going to learn, aren't I?
let me show you. You mentioned the movies. This is a movie prop. It looks just like the World War II, but it's cast metal, and that's a movie prop. Closed again. It's not set back yet. Okay, this is Great Britain or United Kingdom Part 2, including 1858 saber bayonets and the double barrel Jacobs bayonets. The varieties, they look similar, but they're all different, including the new present day British bayonet. These are Australian down here, Canadian, Australian, New Zealand, and different varieties of these, including one from the Desert Rats. The next is Germany, Part 1. The colored knots are, each company, each division had their own specific color pattern, and the knots don't necessarily go with the bayonet of that, but they're the same era. World War I, thereabouts, have the loose tassels, where when you get down to World War II and between, they're solid, like this. But these are, again, chronologically, from the 1700s on up to the Weimar period, between the wars, with the black hilts. Also have an interesting little paperweight from a museum in Germany that has a bayonet letter opener.
That was from that same period, wasn't it?
Correct, yeah, World War I. It's a Kaiser Wilhelm cross on it. But many of these are engraved, doubly engraved. So although a lot of them look alike externally, they've got engraved blades. Now I'll go to German Part 2. These are what we call Ersatz bayonets. There was a pattern of the blade length and the hilt length so it would fit the rifle. But the muzzle ring will take several different diameter muzzles, specifically for captured British or Belgian or French rifles, so they could use those in their second line troops. These are all different. Anthony Carter wrote a book called Ersatz Bayonets, and in that he's got many different varieties. And so I've got these numbered along with that book so you can reference it right away. This is World War II, German, the Nazi era. The Germans always had to be armed, so that's why there was always a lot of dress bayonets and dress daggers that they would wear. You had the stag grips and engraved blades on some of them. Had a mock stag, which is wood carved to look like a stag. You have the grip emblems, then you have the plain plastic grips. This length is what they call the enlisted man's length. This length here, which is shorter, is NCOs and officers, would be here. These are police bayonets, early ones, and these are fire police bayonets from early ones on up. Down at the bottom here we have West German bayonets and East German bayonets. These are AK-47 trainers that for bayonet practice. And that's the bulk of the collection.
We had one kind of special bayonet that had been cut down or made from a claymore sword. Why don't you show me that one again? That was really neat.
Okay. This one is probably my favorite. It's the 1805 bayonet, English bayonet, is like this. This particular one is a Scottish version of that. And instead of a brass hilt like this, it's steel. And instead of a typical bayonet blade, it's an old broadsword blade. And it's by Runkle and Company in Solingen. That company made blades for Scottish broadswords or claymores from 1710 to 1740. So the Scots, in their wisdom, used a British bayonet to fit a British rifle and put a Scottish blade on it. And this is a real sword blade, not an iron bayonet blade. Because all of these were confiscated or outlawed after the Battle of Culloden Moor in 1745. But I think that's one of my favorite ones, just because it's old and it's sort of an in-your-face type.
Excellent.
And have some bayonet sconces. There's a few other things around. Got lots of bayonet frogs and scabbard parts.
All right. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So